It was another one of those games. You had the Bulls fall behind early and really remain behind to that point where they were down by as many as 18 points, and just like the other night against the Celtics, you saw the Bulls make a little run at the end of the third quarter and then had a big spurt to start the fourth quarter all the way to where they tied the game at one point. Sixers then went on a little run in the final minutes to the point where you thought it was all but over, and then somehow the Bulls brought it within 2 on 2 big shots from Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan, but it wasn't quite enough this time around like the Bulls were able to do against the Celtics, and of course it didn't help that the refs overturned that ridiculous call on Joel Embiid on his foul on DeMar DeRozan. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Look, you can't win every game. I know some Bulls fans are upset by this game that the Bulls didn't step up and win, which should have been somewhat of an easy win given the Sixers were without Tobias Harris and of course Ben Simmons, and they were also without Danny Green. So I get the disappointment because the Bulls should have taken advantage of a shorthanded team, but they still have one of the best players in the game in Joel Embiid, and people forget this is still a great Sixers team that hustles on defense and will make you pay on offense if you fall asleep, which, let's be honest, the Bulls did at times. I mean, here we are again. The Bulls fall down big in the middle of a game, and they've been able to go on late runs, which is great, but if the hustle and effort was there the whole game, they wouldn't have to worry about making a big comeback run at the end of it. This was actually a pretty brutal game for a couple guys, and really the main guy I'm talking about is Nikola Vucevic. This was one of the worst offensive games for Vucevic in nearly 4 years for him. I mean, there was a point in the fourth quarter where I was yelling to have Vucevic be taken out of the game and putting Tony Bradley back in. I mean, yet again, Tony Bradley has proved and provided to be a huge spark off the bench against big, dominant centers, and he was playing much better against Embiid than Vucevic was. Bradley didn't score at all tonight. He only had 2 rebounds, but he was plus 11 in terms of his box plus minus, whereas Vucevic was a minus 16. Vucevic, 4 points tonight, 4. Wasn't aggressive on offense at all, putting up only 7 shots, only making 2 of them. He was decent on the boards, grabbing 10 rebounds, but you can't have that from your star center. And we've been talking about it a lot. Well, you know, Vucevic tends to start season slow and he just needs to shake off the rust a bit. But here we are, 8 games in the season. Yes, still early, but he is just not looking that great. At least in the first few games, his defense was solid despite not generating a ton of offense, but now his defense hasn't even been all that great. And yes, it's tough to guard someone like Embiid. That's the case for everyone, but Tony Bradley outplaying him and guarding Embiid tonight. Just not a good look for Vucevic. I still think he's eventually going to get it together and we'll finally start hitting those shots that we've really seen him miss, but it's starting to become a little bit more concerning as we start getting further into the season. And then the other guy that had a disappointing game, and I should add a caveat, a disappointing game for him, because if you look at the numbers and you think, what the hell are you talking about? But that's Zach LaVine. And I really mean this for the fourth quarter, because Zach actually played very well, especially in the third quarter, but it was the bad turnovers in the fourth when the Bulls were making headway and some poor shots that he took when it was clear that DeRozan was the guy who was feeling it late in the game. LaVine had 27 points and 9 rebounds, which is incredible, especially when you factor in that he's still injured and his thumb is bandaged up. But where LaVine struggled was his 3-point shooting, going 2 for 7, and then of course his 5 turnovers and critical turnovers at the end of the game. And what pops out to me as it relates to LaVine was his minus 15 box plus minus. And actually, you could say the same thing about Lonzo Ball. Not the best game for him either. He also had 5 turnovers, although he was a little more efficient on offense, going 5 for 11 and 3 for 6 from 3. He also had 5 rebounds and 5 assists and 3 steals. The defense has been key for Lonzo, and all the little things that he does on the court is very impactful for the Bulls. But as the starting point guard, you got to limit your turnovers. The Bulls had 15 turnovers overall for this game, and LaVine and Lonzo had 10 of them combined. That just cannot happen from your backcourt. Lonzo, aside from DeMar, though, was the only other starter with a positive box plus minus tonight. DeMar DeRozan, man, what a game. I mean, people keep talking about how this was a horrible signing for the Bulls, but this guy is absolutely feeling it in every game and has been the most clutch player for the Bulls down the stretch in these comebacks. DeRozan finished the game with 37 points, 10 rebounds on an efficient 13 for 22 shooting, and it should have been 39 if the refs called that final foul properly, which I need to rant about a bit on that, because look, it likely wouldn't have mattered had they just kept that as a foul. DeRozan hits his free throws and the Bulls have to foul quickly to get the ball back with less than 5 seconds. Like, yes, the chances of the Bulls pulling off a win at that point was unlikely. but it could have been the difference in the game. And just because a star player in the league dramatizes the situation, pops up and starts waving his hand around for the play to be reviewed and challenged like it was a complete injustice to call this a foul, when clearly he used a body to get DeRozan out of the way on the drive. Like, that's unacceptable from an officiating standpoint. To have the refs be that much of pushovers to be influenced like that in front of a hometown crowd for a star player. Call it like it is, call it evenly, enough of the crap. Anyway, now that I got that out of the way, I mean, the other thing I'll add this game is the Bulls bench. The bench mob did give us energy in getting the team back into the game. Hey, another huge shot, but look, let's be real. We need more offense from this second unit. And that's why I cannot wait for Coby White to return and be the key scorer off the bench, because Coby now on this team and with his role, he no longer has to worry about finding out how to be a floor general and facilitator for the Bulls as their starting point guard. He's going to be predominantly a scorer off the bench, which is what he's great at. He needs to be more consistent and efficient with his scoring, but I think that will come given the fact that he's only 21 years old. And the Bulls are absolutely missing Coby's production when you look and see the Bulls only scored 13 points off the bench tonight. Overall, the Bulls' assist numbers down again, under 20 assists for the game in total, and the Bulls have struggled when they're not moving the ball and getting guys involved. It also doesn't help when the guys aren't hitting their shots, which the Bulls weren't. 46% from the field, not terrible, but 6 for 21 from 3, not going to win games with that kind of output from deep. I will say, I know Billy Donovan likes to keep his rotations thin to 8 or 9 men, but I would love to see Alizé getting some minutes in these types of physical games to see what he can do in bringing some energy and crashing the boards for the Bulls, especially when you're not seeing as much energy from a guy like Vucevic. So hopefully we'll see him in the next game, which again, the Bulls will be facing the Sixers, this time back at the United Center. And with the home crowd, the fact that Harris and Simmons will still be out of the lineup, the Bulls need to take advantage and get a win. Study the film from the game, figure out how to lock down Embiid, which they actually weren't that bad at doing overall. Embiid didn't have the best game for him. But how about studying film to figure out how to lock down Seth Curry? Like, what? Since when did this guy become his brother out there hitting shot after shot and hitting clutch shots? That big bucket with less than a minute to go is really what sealed the deal for the Sixers in this one. Anyway, hopefully the Bulls will be able to bounce back, learn from their missteps in this one, study what they have to do against the same team as before, get the home crowd going, get the energy back up, get a revenge win. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments, and as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.